What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of the Motors as we continue through their greatest hits airport compilation. Thank you again to Phil. And the next track is Tenement Steps. A tenement is a building with units for rent where multiple tenants live and where they do not own the units they live in. And it's often used, I think, in relation to buildings with units for rent that are a bit run down, lower income, maybe in, let's say, tough parts of town. So to be on the tenement steps is maybe a socio-economic indicator. Obviously there's a visual and literal component to that, but I imagine it's the kind of phrase which has connotations beyond the specific denotation. So let's give it a listen and see what I can pick up. This is the Motors. The song is Tenement Steps, and it's included on the Greatest Hits Airport compilation.
Climbing up those stairs at night, I keep forgetting as I fall on my face, because somebody forgot to wipe away bloodstains from the night before when two men were fighting. Love was never there, religion of despair. Tenement steps, tenement steps, tenement steps, cemented. Tenement steps, tenement steps, tenement steps, cemented. Someone's banging on the door, and I remember as I sit in the dark of a promise to tear my bones apart. I pick up a hatchet by the fireplace, open the door and scar a face. I nearly killed the boy, I could have backed away. Tenement steps, tenement steps, tenement steps, cemented. Tenement steps, tenement steps, tenement steps, cemented.
freely concede. God, just killing those vocals, man. The vocal fry scream. I'm not particularly knowledgeable in the realm of vocal techniques and the names or the nomenclature, but I think that is a phrase that is used. But I will freely concede that's the kind of track you have to fade out. And again, if you've been around for a while, I know Phil has, you'll be aware, I've long had this sense of, fade outs, like write an ending to your song. I have come to have a more nuanced view of the matter. Number one, if you're going to fade out, do it gradually, as that certainly does. Number two, there are certain songs where the only way it can end is have the vibe kind of extend onto the horizon. So even if you gradually decrease the volume, the notion is that feeling, that sentiment, and the song itself is conceptually continuing forever. It is a perpetual type of sentiment or attitude, and I think this is a perfect example of the kind of song that fits within that category and thus is entirely legitimate that it would end with a gradual fade out. Number two, this is very different, it feels like, than just about everything we've heard on this compilation thus far. It feels like a tune from a musical. It feels like, something maybe ABBA or Benny and Bjorn would do as I'm going through the Chess musical, or the concept album / musical, which reminds me, I haven't been back to that for a while. Maybe I have to do that in this batch. But seriously, like, it feels like a production. It feels like there's characters, kind of singing and breaking the fourth wall as they sing to the audience. And the socioeconomic implications of the phrase were immediate and significant. He's walking up the steps and he almost slips and hurts himself, or he fell down even because someone forgot to wipe away the blood from the night before when two men got into a fight. And a suggestion that he's been in some violent situations, or those where, he felt threatened, maybe even hurt somebody else. And there's this, again, like chaotic / dangerous world around him, because that's what it's like when you live in the tenements in the wrong part or the rough part of town. So it feels like it was very much what I was thinking, and perhaps even a bit darker or more intense in that regard. I do enjoy, again, the chorus with this musical style chorus of voices, singing and just driving home the point. The Tenement Steps, this is what life here is. And then the individual, vignettes expressing that further in the verses. Excuse me. So yeah, I think that's a very cool song. As I said, it's different than a lot of the, the rock / kind of new wave-ish type of sounds that we've heard on some of the other songs. So definitely a very interesting one, and I do wonder, was this a concept they tried here, or is this something where they began to go in this kind of direction? So yeah, again, I'm always curious when a band has a varied catalog, and even though this is just one song, it's a notable lane change, it feels like. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. When I was younger, I've talked about this with opera. When I was a kid, I loved classical music, but not so much opera. It was like, I don't know what they're saying. It's, it's an Italian or, German or French. It's, I can't really understand it, and it feels all a bit melodramatic and whatever. And then I grew up, and I still love symphonic or chamber classical music, but I've come to very much love opera as well. And I have a similar experience with musicals. Now, Phantom of the Opera is an exception. I saw that when I was a kid, and I was very compelled by the drama, and I liked the songs, especially the title song with that big kind of organ keyboard riff. So, again, there's a bit of an asterisk there, but ultimately musicals, also, generally speaking, I didn't really care for when I was younger. I've come to enjoy them more as an adult, and this feels, again, like it could be in the middle of this dramatic musical about, living on the wrong side of the tracks and, trying to survive, but maybe finding the human stories that are there, even as you avoid or try to avoid violence or danger or, bad feelings and, people who are down on their luck and maybe, being dragged down by all that. So yes, I could feel this being part of a very gripping type of socioeconomic musical. Nevertheless, I do enjoy both the electric organ or keyboard type flourishes, especially that middle section where it kind of went into an interlude. But just overall, there were these organ flourishes. At the same time, and a bit more subtle, there was these melodic lines that kind of had a true piano sound. I don't know, it's probably was still a keyboard, but it had a bit more of a true piano sound. And there were these chords which, again, I think they were like organ, but they almost had a bit of a string synth sound to them. So I enjoyed all that. And yeah, just a really impactful tune and one I was surprised by. So very cool. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.